It's the weekly show with David J. Maloney. This week, David visits with members of the White Tie Rock Ensemble. And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home, and I would normally say our studio audience to the weekly show. I am your host, David J. Maloney. The reason why I say normally is because typically we shoot our show before a live studio audience at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. However, like so many other talk shows, I am relegated to shooting the show from home due to coronavirus concerns. In fact, this is not our set. This is just a green screen. For example, hey, Marty, do something really cool with the green screen. Put me at a large stadium concert. So, according to a new study, birds are coping with global warming by changing their migratory flight paths. Yeah, apparently that new route is directly over my windshield. And a 23-year-old Texas man who joined ISIS said it was the worst decision he's ever made, with the possible exception of buying a timeshare. And a Detroit funeral home discovered a 20-year-old woman breathing 4 hours after she was declared dead by paramedics. Unsurprisingly, while she was deceased, she mailed in a ballot for Joe Biden. Oh, and in his speech at the Republican National Convention, Eric Trump praised his father for creating jobs. Yeah, for Eric, all his siblings, and all their spouses. And Libertarian Jo Jorgensen is running for president, but she's got a big problem. Low name recognition. To give you an idea of how bad it is, she has Jo Jorgensen written on her hand. And Dr. Phil just turned 70. At his birthday party, a girl jumped out of his cake. Dr. Phil then told her that consciously acknowledging her negative behaviors was the first step towards improving her self-esteem. Lastly, squirrels at Rockefeller Park in New York City are becoming more aggressive. Officials are warning that squirrels will attack you, especially if you touch their nuts. So local music scenes around the country have been heavily impacted by COVID-19, with many local musicians still out of work due to attendance limits and even the closing of some of our favorite venues. One local band has had to postpone its show at the Sanger Theater several times since the initial lockdown is the White Tie Rock Ensemble. Well, they found an interesting way to finally do that show and give their fans and the industry some hope of a return to normalcy. On October 3, 2020, the White Tie Rock Ensemble is going to play live before a socially distanced audience outside at the Blue Wahoo Stadium in Pensacola, Florida. We've got some members of the band on the show to talk with us tonight about why it's so important for local music scenes around the country for them to do this show. They're going to talk a little bit about their band and share some of their music with us. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after the break with White Tie Rock Ensemble. And we are back. We're here with Jonathan and Mark from White Tie Rock Ensemble. Now, I know each of you guys personally, but before we begin, can you introduce yourselves for our viewers and explain what parts each of you guys play in the band?
All right, I'm Jonathan Clark, and I play the bass, sometimes play the violin. I write out the strings part for the tied-up quartet, and I sing background vocals.
My name is Mark Ellis. I'm lead vocalist in the band. I sometimes play guitar, and I'm the merry prankster as well.
Now, some of the members of your band are kind of known as all-stars in the local music scene. Is that what you guys set out when forming the band, or did it just happen to fall into place that way?
Yeah, I knew all of these, well, most of these players from being around, in Pensacola. But Jerry and I at the time were kind of talking about forming something, and our first idea was actually to do a Police cover band. So that was the idea a long time ago, and then he knew Joel from back in the day in Nashville, and Joel was in Birmingham, moving down here, and so I called Mark and I said, "You want to do this?" And everybody said, "Yeah, let's get it rolling."
Jonathan, when he called me, I had quit the music business. I was done. I had quit performing, and he called me to do one show, and that was Dark Side of the Moon. And here we are, 9 years later?
Yep.
And you guys, when you guys started out, you guys didn't start off just boom. I mean, I remember seeing you guys in a high school auditorium.
Yeah, well, it's Washington High School. That was our alma mater. So we had, our first show was actually in PLT downtown. And then we were able to get the Washington Theater, and we wanted to bring kind of the orchestra in at some point. So it worked out real well for us. But yeah, you have to, this is an organic process, and we've been lucky to grow it from the ground up.
For those in our audience who don't know you guys, can you tell us what tie, I'll learn how to speak, what White Tie Rock Ensemble is all about? And how do the white ties fit in? Was that just the theme you guys went with, or?
Well, go ahead and tell us about what we're about, Mark, and I'll explain where the white ties came from.
Well, White Tie Rock Ensemble is a unique outfit. So not only are we, classic rock musicians, all of us cut our teeth on growing up on classic rock, but we also incorporate classically trained stringed instrumentalists that you can see behind us in the picture there. So that is our thing, if you will, classic rock with a classical twist.
Yeah, and keeping that music alive. I was a violinist growing up, my entire life. And when you're playing in the Pensacola Symphony, it's pretty much a 1700s classical cover band. So, bringing that into the world of rock and roll, and instead of doing Mozart and Bach and Beethoven, you're doing the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd. So that was kind of the role that we wanted to play. But the ties comes from my jazz instructor from my freshman year at PJC. His name was Tim Jackson. And we were getting together to play a jazz group, little quartet. And he says, y'all need something that will kind of tie everything together. Like y'all could all wear red ties and be the Red Tie Jazz Ensemble. So when we were looking for the name on this, we ended up that night, we were the White Tie Jazz Ensemble. So when we needed a name, I was like, guys, White Tie Rock Ensemble. And then here we are.
Now, one of the other unique things about you guys is that you guys do the full album experience. Or you'll do full themes where you might do, you've got a glam rock show coming up. What made giving audiences the album experience so important to you guys?
Well, all of us are music fans, and, myself, I've been fortunate enough to be on both sides of the stage. I've been to 1,000 concerts like you, David. I saw the Grateful Dead over 100 times, so I know what the concert experience is about, and I always wanted to see, full records played in their entirety by a band, which none of the classic rock bands did back then in the 80s and 90s. They do now. But back then, nobody did that. So when Jonathan called me, he asked if I would sit in or play this one show and do Dark Side of the Moon. And I said, under one condition, that we do Abbey Road next. And he agreed, and that's what we did.
Due to shorter and shorter attention spans, some people say that the album is dead. I mean, do you guys agree? And if so, how does that make you feel? What does that mean to you guys?
Well, if you look at the first posters we ever put out, it said at the very top, the Album Preservation Society, which is TAPS. So yeah, and when we would start, it would say the album is dead. The era of the single reigns supreme. And it's true, but I go back to my classical roots. You don't see Beethoven's Fifth and only the second movement is played. If you're really going to experience these classic works, then I feel you need to experience them as a whole. And that was, what we really set out to do. Is it dead? Hopefully, but are we, hopefully not. But are we trying to keep it alive? Certainly.
Well, and with me too, I'm a deep cut guy. I would rather play the most obscure. If I had my way, we'd play the Exile on Main Street in its entirety. It's just not going to happen because people don't know all those songs. I mean, people had a hard time even knowing the songs on Abbey Road.
Yep.
Have any of you had experiences with particular albums or artists or memories from a concert that made you want to be able to share those kinds of experiences for others? So like for me, my very first concert was Harry Chapin. And then when I was a kid, it was listening to the Kiss Alive albums that made me want to have that concert experience. I know you said, Mark, something about the Grateful Dead.
Absolutely. Going to live shows, there's nothing like it. You can go in, walk in, and hear a piece of music, and your hair stand up on end, and get goosebumps. So really, our goal is to transfer that joy that we feel to our audience, and that's what I feel we do.
Now, if you've got to play a whole album, that means sometimes you're going to play some things that aren't the most popular, but other times you're going to be forced to play something that is ridiculously complex. What is probably the most complex song that you guys play?
The most recent complex song, because I told you earlier, probably Yours Is No Disgrace. But in terms of something we've done recently with some video, we had Kansas. And we talked about that off the air there. But Kansas, Carry On Wayward Son. It's a very great song. It's very well written. And it might be considered, kind of pop for the prog rock Kansas. But the guitars and the string stuff that we do, and the bass and the keyboard solos, the vocals. That's a really complex tune.
Now, what, as far as the songs that you guys enjoy playing the most, what song would you guys say would be the song you guys enjoy playing the most?
Well, for me, it's Most Zeppelin is my favorite. So the song remains the same. Into the Rain song for me is, my holy grail. That's my favorite.
Probably, I think recently what we love playing because of the audience reaction is Hotel California by the Eagles. I like playing the Eagles. I think the band does a really good job with the Eagles. So, that's always, when I love it when we're coming to an Eagles show, because there's such a breadth of material with the Eagles. It could go from soft to rockin', the double guitar solos. I just think it, fits us really well.
What songs do you, or what song have you found that the fans enjoy seeing you guys play the most?
Freebird!
What song is it you want to hear?
Yeah. Freebird, man. We played Freebird a couple years ago, and we're going to do it at the ball field coming up here, too. We told the ball field when we were talking to them about playing, they said, if we're going to do Freebird at the end, you've got to do fireworks. So that's still a request of ours, but we played Freebird, and they went nuts. So that would certainly be the biggest tune we've played at this point for them.
Now, as far as songs, are there any songs that were B-sides? I mean, you said earlier, Mark, that you like some of the more obscure, deep tracks. Is there a B-side to an album that turned out to be one of your absolute favorites that you guys do?
Well, my favorite that we do is the second half of Abbey Road, and that's where it gets really obscure, where fans don't realize it's not really played on radio often because it's not a, greatest hits portion, because it's segueing from song to song. That's my favorite. But what do you think, Jonathan?
Well, I think, when I had to bring up Brandy was one we did at our Yacht Rock show by Looking Glass, which is probably not a B-side, but it is a lesser-known song that I didn't really know that well until we played it. And that's what happens with a lot of White Tie music. I'll start, you really dive deep into the learning of these tunes, and you start to really appreciate it. Rolling Stones, not that we're talking B-sides, but I was never a huge fan of the Rolling Stones until we played it. And then you play the Rolling Stones, and you get it, and you understand what they're trying to do. And The Who was the same way. The Who is not one of my favorites. I was a Yes fan, Rush fan, but playing The Who, absolutely a blast.
Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk more about White Tie Rock Ensemble, your upcoming show at Blue Wahoo Stadium, which is coming up, as I understand, October 3rd, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we'll be right back after this break with White Tie Rock Ensemble. And we are back with the White Tie Rock Ensemble. So Mark and Jonathan, you each have lovely ladies to your side. I know that they're both in the band, but they're also your respective wives. Can you introduce them to us?
Here I have Miss Virginia Clark.
And this is Mrs. Laura Ellis, and she plays violin.
And Virginia plays the cello with a tied-up quartet. So
you guys have a full string section with the band, and we talked about that a little bit earlier, and you ladies play in the string section. How cool and different and exciting is it for you guys to be able to be out there with, essentially a full rock band, but you guys are playing more symphonic parts, correct?
Right. That is correct. And, we grew up playing in orchestras our whole lives, so it's a lot of fun to be able to do something that's actually rock and roll. You grow up playing Vivaldi and Beethoven, and so being able to rock out some Led Zeppelin is kind of a dream come true, I think, for both of us.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's literally a dream that I didn't know that I had, and I'm so happy to be doing what I'm doing. And
you guys just had Mark, you guys just had a baby. I think I heard it in the background, eh?
Yeah, she's coming. That's our 19-month-old. That's May. So yeah,
she's certainly welcome to join in if need be, if it keeps her happy and and I would think that songs like Kashmir that have phenomenal string section, would be just an incredible experience.
Absolutely. When we're all music educators, first and foremost, that's our day job. We spend our day teaching kids. So I would have these opportunities. Laura was actually one of my students for a long time. So I had the opportunity to work with her for years and years. And one of the things we do, I'd be like, okay, guys, we're going to play this song called Kashmir. We're going to play 8 measures of it, and it's going to really rock. So then having the opportunity to do it with a rock band, who knew that was even an option for us?
Now, how did the idea come about to have local kids and symphony musicians play in the band? And has that become a much bigger part, to this thing than you guys originally anticipated?
Well, we sort of, that's another thing. I mean, White Tie, like I said, we were talking with Jerry about doing a police band at one point. And then I started a private orchestra, with Virginia and I back in 2012. And really, we put together the White Tie Band to play Dark Side of the Moon with the Echo Orchestra. We call it the Echo Rockestra, which is sort of a Paul McCartney throwback there. But the Echo Rockestra, and then with the White Tie Rock Ensemble. And then, it's great, and it's so fun. It's just putting 50 people on stage is difficult, and moving that around and scheduling all of that. So then we got to the point like, well, we still want to keep the string aspect of it. Let's do a quartet. And then we started the Tied Up Quartet, which now, consists of Virginia Clark, Laura Ellis, Maria Roshan, and Christina Aldehondo. So, that makes it a lot easier for us to kind of travel around and play these awesome music and still keep the classical vibe going.
Let's talk about the upcoming show. It's no secret that the music industry, the local music industries around the country have been just impacted so harshly by COVID-19. Between closings of venues and or limits on how many people can be at a venue, it's really decimated the local music scene in almost every city, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I do for my day job is production. I work for All Pro, which is a national company, and we are seeing production companies that have been, 50, 60-year-old companies that are just decimated and closing their doors. Not to mention the local aspect of it where, you have local venues like Vinyl. I mean, you don't think about the bartender at Vinyl, but they're not working either. So it goes so deep from lighting guys to production guys to, even security guards. It just goes down the line. So the entertainment industry, the music industry in itself has truly been decimated.
I'm thankful that I'm teaching during the day, and we're back in school now, so hopefully things will get back to some sort of normal and we can start rocking out again. And I mean, October 3rd is sort of a good start to that, I think.
Well, and what's special about this show is the safety factor. You guys, we talked earlier, you guys started at high schools, then I know you guys played at the Rex for a little bit, and then you were playing to sold out crowds at the Sanger. And so this show, though, is an outdoor show, a stadium show at Blue Wahoo Stadium, correct?
Yeah, right. October 3rd, and I'll let Mark talk about he's always loved baseball. We'll be in rehearsals, and Mark's watching the A's play on his phone, while we're practicing. But, for us to get back at it and just get in front of so many people have said, thank you so much. We really needed this. We can't wait to see you. They just want to get out, be around some people, stay safe, and rock out. So hopefully if we can provide that on October 3rd, at the Pensacola Blue Wahoo Stadium, then we'll have done at least our duty for now. So. And
what is the theme for that night?
I guess you would just say, greatest hits show. Folks will recognize every single song and be able to sing along with almost every single song. And so during this, as things start to loosen up a little bit, of course, we want to be responsible and everything's marked off and cordoned off to where people can be socially distant. What we really want to do is give something to the community. People are really going nuts staying inside and they need to get out and do something. And so we work really hard with the Wahoos, and they've done a phenomenal job to be able to put this thing on and have it properly distanced so that people can confidently go into the stadium, have a nice night with their family, and not worried about getting sick.
And one good thing about your shows is they are, for the most part, family-friendly shows, right?
Yes, I mean, especially since we started with kids on stage. We had, 8th graders playing on us these first shows. And I told them, I said, look, it is Dark Side of the Moon. I said, we might do some We Don't Need No Education in the first half. And, if Mr. Clark seems like he's all depressed and sad, it's all just a show. So we warned them, and, we try to say PG-13 at the worst, but this Wahoo show is going to be 8 to 80. You can come out and jam out, for 2 hours and lose yourself under the beautiful stars of, Pensacola. So.
Well, and as I mentioned before, I've seen a bunch of shows. I've seen B.B. King probably 10 times. And every single time I saw B.B. King, he would say, hey, I want you to know this is a family-friendly show, and I'm never going to say anything from the stage that's going to offend and insult your family. And I've always taken that to heart when we go out and play our shows.
We're a family band. So we all have kids. We all want our kids to come see us and be comfortable and bring their friends. So it's really important to us to make sure that everybody feels comfortable watching our shows.
Mark, I got a question. Are you always barefooted in every show?
Yeah. I'm not wearing shoes right now.
Okay, but I think because I've seen shows and I don't think I've ever seen you wear shoes on stage. Where does that come from? Why?
A long time ago. Remember the old Sunray Taco Shop out on the beach?
Okay.
On the boardwalk.
Well, I mean, even before that, the one further down.
Oh yeah.
I was probably 15 years old, playing a show at the beach, and it was sweltering. And I was wearing socks and shoes, and I was about to die. And so at break, I just happened to take off as much as I could take off to stay, cool, and went back on stage and had an aha moment. And from that moment on, I cannot sing with shoes on. Shoes just constrict everything. And so if I'm going to hit something, hit a high note, I better be barefoot. And my feet suffer for it. I will, every night there's something, I pick something up,
Well, it was either shoes or pants. And, back to the family-friendly thing, we told him he had to wear pants so he could take his shoes off.
I'm trying to go out without a shirt on and just the tie soon. So.
Family band.
That would be for the Led Zeppelin show.
Right.
So we're going to have you guys close. Normally, my son closes out the show. We're going to have you guys close out the show with something you guys have previously done, so people who haven't seen you before can actually see what you guys do. So what are you guys closing out the show with?
All right, this is going to be from Styx, another great band I think we're set up to do very well. I love playing Styx like the Eagles do. But this is Styx, and this is a song called Renegade from February of this year. So our last show we played before COVID hit.
So we are going to go to break, and then we come back. It'll be the White Tie Rock Ensemble playing Renegade by Styx. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
That's our show for tonight. Special thanks to the White Tie Rock Ensemble. They're going to be closing out the show tonight with Renegade by Styx.
Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. Lawman is putting end to my running, and I'm so far from my home. Oh, mama, I can hear you crying, you're so scared and all alone.